Yo! Welcome to the show, BroMob. Today is Tuesday, October 22nd. I'm your host, Chad. That's your host, Brian, over there waving the arms around. Inflatable arm flailing man again. Back again this week. What's up? We've got Week 7 fantasy recap. We've got genius dumb picks. I'll be honest, BroMob, I have some pretty dumb picks this past week, so I'll be reading those off pretty sadly. But then we also got our waiver review, our hold'ems, and of course that ever so valuable trade. I mean, it's trade season, BroMob. It's here. It's time to get some trades in, and there's an interception by the New England Patriots. Brian is hoping for a monster day from them.
Yeah, I love it. I only need 23 more points from the Patriots defense.
Look at this Jets fan. Oh, you missed it. Jets fan just sitting there sulking, just like anybody else who's playing against New England defense right now. It's not looking good.
That's right, and it never will.
I just don't understand how a defense can continue to score quarterback-like numbers. It's ridiculous.
Well, look at the teams they're playing, Chad.
It's true.
So, it has a lot to do with it. I'm not gonna lie. So, and it does. It's not like it. It's not like it is gonna be different, anytime soon. So, Patriots defense has been doing me well this year, and is doing me well right now. I'm currently looking at 18 points as we speak. So
that's okay.
I need 23 more.
I mean, they play against Nick Chubb and the Cleveland Browns next week. Brian, who has Nick Chubb and are going to be playing against you next week in League of Record?
Well, I know whoever has him is going to get spanked.
Yeah,
that part I know. Everybody, about to get spanked. I mean, we've been a while back. We announced this that Week 8 was the week that we find out who really knows what they're doing.
True.
And you're about to get spanked, bro.
BroMob, just for a quick update, Brian and I have the best records in our League of Record. I think the whole thing has turned into a ghost town. There's just nobody trying to trash talk, nobody trying to do anything really. We get to see who's the better between the two of us this coming week, Week 8. You're 6-1. I should be 6-1, but I'm 5-2.
Hold on.
We get to see what happens.
Hold on. I'm not 6-1 yet. All right.
Yeah, you
probably gonna be 6-1. But hey, look, the Patriots could score 23 more points. Let's just be honest.
There's no way.
This is not outside. They could could the Patriots give me 50 points total? No. Yes.
Wishful thinking.
So I firmly believe that I'm not out of it until that score says final. And even then, I'm not out of it. So
ESPN says I have a 1% chance. All right.
Care what ESPN says.
I have a chance. So
you're saying I got a chance. ESPN also had a team scoring an actual real NFL team with a score of 1 point this week. You sent me the picture. What was that team?
Very possible. Yeah, it was 1-7. I believe it was the. What game was that? It doesn't matter. It was 1-7 on the ESPN app. I'm like, that makes sense. This is.
I'm like 1
this
point.
Is right.
So just one extra point, like just a random extra point.
Just one extra point.
It's a feel good point.
Feel good. All right, BroMob, we got a lot to talk about this week. So let's just get right into it. But first, be sure to follow along after the show by following us on Twitter and Instagram at FF Bros Podcast, and be sure to search that ever so valuable, wonderful, glorious hashtag BroMob for all sorts of news, events, Brian looking crazy, me ranting about things. It's a good time. Get on there and search it. Let's start the show. Fantasy Weekly Recap. All right, BroMob. It was a bit of a, I'll say, weird and also quite eventful week. And I'm going to start it off here with the first game, with some of the biggest news possible. So Chiefs-Broncos. Patrick Mahomes went down early in this game with a dislocated knee. BroMob, if you didn't watch it, it wasn't pretty. I mean, there was you could see the trainer come out onto the field and actually relocate the knee Um, it was nasty looking. I mean, the kneecap was all the way on the right side of his leg, and they just popped it right back in. So it's sounding like it was best case scenario. There's no ligament damage here. There's no tears. So they're saying that best case scenario was 3 weeks. They're claiming it's best case scenario. We'll see what happens. But I can't anticipate the team rushing him back if they're doing okay, right, Brian? I mean, this is their franchise.
Yeah, I think if you're a Pat Mahomes owner, excuse me, if you're a Pat Mahomes owner, I'm staying put. Obviously, you don't want to move him.
Oh, of course.
Don't drop. Please do not be dropping him. Don't do that. You'll instantly give somebody else a championship, most likely. So don't do that. Just put him on your bench. This is a good time to be streaming, and so a lot of good options out there for quarterbacks. So I wouldn't panic.
Yeah, definitely not. However, if you own Joe Flacco, you should be panicking because this is not a good Kansas City Chiefs defense, and they looked good against him. So this team struggled mightily against him on Thursday Night Football.
And if you are a Joe Flacco owner, you're only 4.5% of the U.S. population in ESPN.
That means they're out there, Brian. So 4% of you out there. I feel really bad for you. So let's move on here. We got the next game, Rams Falcons. The Rams sitting at 6-0 when they're playing in the Eastern time zone underneath the McVay era. It's kind of an interesting statistic. I mean, a little weird, but also at the same time, I mean, every time they travel out east, they do well. So something to kind of keep your eyes on anytime that they're doing an away game and they're out east playing some other teams, because you could be seeing some good fantasy outputs going forward. That being said, this team did look like themselves this week. However, it's pretty easy to say that whenever you're playing against this terrible, terrible Falcons defense. Pretty much everybody benefited except for Cooper Kupp. Didn't have a huge game in this one, just a mediocre game at best. But Robert Woods, nice game. Brandon Cooks, okay game, and then Todd Gurley got that touchdown in the air. So the team kind of was just efficient all around. Gerald Everett came back around in this one and got a touchdown. But the big news here, Jalen Ramsey getting traded to the team, instantly looked healthy, surprisingly, right? I mean, no longer injured out of nowhere, and looked like his all-pro self. I mean, he looked good against Julio. Julio had a good game in PPR senses and stuff like that, but he held him in check for most of the game. Outside of that, the Falcons, they continue to skid despite some really strong offensive numbers, but the team just really struggling mightily on defense. Ito Smith got injured in this one. Devonta Freeman got kicked out of this one, got ejected. So it was just an ugly outing for them.
Yeah, Chad. And then we have the Dolphins-Bills game, and Dolphins coming off bye week. This was actually, I was really impressed with the way the Dolphins started this game. They ran the ball hard. I thought this was an impressive way to come out of bye and play for them. But ultimately, the Bills took over the game and improved to 5-1 on the season. First time since 2008, they're 5-1. So Bills off to a pretty good start. Strong fantasy performances for Josh Allen and John Brown. Don't you think Brown's floor is kind of high now at this point? I mean, he's posting close to 80 yards per 80 yards per receiving almost weekly now at this point. English, Brian. So I think Brown has a lot of potential, and I like where he's at. I like his floor, and I also think you're starting to see a little bit more consistency with Devontae Parker. If he could just have consistency at quarterback, that might help him a bit. So, but I don't know if I really trust any Dolphins wide receiver or running back at this point. Even though Mark Walton or Mark Wahlberg, one of the two, is Mark Walton Mark Wahlberg's long lost twin. Cousin?
He might be
relative.
He might have ran away and got a different name at some point, but didn't go too far from the name.
Well, nonetheless, let's go on to Jags Bengals. Another game that I think we kind of said could be a real heavy defensive game, but Gardner Minshew still had a pretty decent game. D.D. Westbrook had a big game in this one. Leonard Fournette, 20 plus carries a week. As long as Leonard Fournette continues to get 20 carries a week, I think he's definitely a viable fantasy option. So I would say, I know you're a little different on this, Chad. You're not a big Leonard Fournette fan, and neither am I. Really, I'm not a fan of his injury history anyway, but I think you definitely got to keep Leonard Fournette rolling while you can, right?
Yeah, so long as Fournette's getting it, it's pretty crazy, right? So if you look at his splits, in the games that he gets over 20 carries, he is a running back 1 in fantasy football. Outside of that, anytime he's under 20 carries, and even, I mean, we're talking high end 15 to 20 touches, right? 15 to 20 touches, he's not looking good. He's like a locomotive train. He's really big. You got to start getting him rolling throughout the game. So, so long as he's getting 20 plus carries, he's worth a start. But also remember that this guy's got some injury history to him, and having that much usage could be wearing and tearing on him.
I'll tell you what's wearing and tearing. My esophagus.
Your throat
I don't
right
know
now.
what
I thought you were gonna die for a moment.
Oh man, I feel like I'm dying. So I'm gonna do my best here. AJ Green, need you back, buddy. So let's get that going. Because man, Bengals don't look good. So
they're not good.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, let's get into the next game here, Brian. We got Vikings-Lions. This was actually a really good game. The score doesn't indicate that much, but it was actually very good. Starting with Mighty Marv having the 4-touchdown huge game, 10 catches, 93 yards, 4 touchdowns, massive game for the standout wide receiver there. Kerryon Johnson's the big story here. Went down with a knee injury in this game, was not able to return, and it's actually sounding like he's going to be missing some weeks going forward. So Kerryon Johnson owners out there, the bad news is out, right? I mean, it's time to look for some sort of replacement if you have been using him in your flex or as running back 2. This hurts. But it doesn't hurt when you have Dalvin Cook, because this guy continues to dominate the league. I mean, this was his 5th game this season with 100-plus rushing yards. He leads the league in that statistic there. But the Vikings didn't lead this game without injuries either. Adam Thielen left this one, and he's not expected to play in the Thursday night game coming up. So that means more targets coming towards Stephon Diggs, who had a pretty decent game in this one. So decent things coming out of this game and not so decent things coming out of this game. Let's get into our Raiders-Packers game. Aaron Rodgers, massive game. He became only the 3rd quarterback in NFL history to pass for 5 touchdowns and rush for 1 touchdown in the same game. This is the first time that a Packer has ever posted a perfect passer rating, which was interesting to me with all of the high-caliber quarterbacks they've had over the years. But huge game for Aaron Rodgers. The team looks like they're, however, starting to split some carries between both Jamal Williams and Aaron Jones. Jones with a good game here. He was using the passing game, big touchdown, but Jamal Williams just vulturing a touchdown. Brian shaking his head. He hates it. I'm sure he'd wish to see more Aaron Jones. I don't get it. I mean, I think he's averaging something around 4.9 yards a carry right now, which is extremely efficient at the position. I mean, it's less than what he normally does at 5.5, but 4.9 is still pretty good. So kind of confusing not to see him just get the lion's share of the carries on this team. And the one thing to just kind of keep your eyes open for, Devontae Adams will be coming back soon. So this team looked great in this game. Imagine throwing Adams into the mix. The Packers are only going to get better going forward. The Raiders continue to make mistakes, and it basically seals their fate every week, every time they're just not capitalizing on things that they should. Derek Carr fumbling into the end zone. This is the second time he's done it. It was like a mirror image of the last time he did it. Fumbled into the end zone, and it became a touchback for the other team. He's got to stop doing that. He's a quarterback. He's trying to create plays. I get it, but he doesn't need to. I mean, they're right there next to the end zone, so... big things to take away from this game. Josh Jacobs continues to get a major workload. We'll talk about him later in the show, but he's got a cake matchups going forward, and especially in the fantasy playoffs, BroMob. So keep your eyes open at Josh Jacobs. And Darren Waller, this guy's a stud. I believe in him. He's absolutely amazing. Huge game in this one. Monster game, actually. In fact, Darren Waller, just a beast.
Yeah, the thing about Jamal Williams, Chad, is he's also averaging 4 pretty decent yard per carry, 4 on his carries for 2019. So it makes sense as to why they're keeping him involved. He's still efficient. It lightens the load on Jones because that's their concern, is that he's not big enough to kind of carry a full workload. And so it's unfortunate. I think it makes him a low end RB1, high end RB2 moving forward. He's still going to be involved and he's involved in the passing game, which is valuable. So you don't overreact. You want to keep your Aaron Jones alive. Chad, let's move on. Texans, Colts. We'll briefly kind of run through these. Jacoby Brissett continues to be comfortable every week. Had 4 touchdowns against the Texans. This was exactly what I said it would be. Kind of an aerial assault for lack of a better term. So there was a lot. I mean, he spread the ball around a lot. Eric Ebron, what a catch in the back of the end zone he had.
Huge catch.
I mean, yeah, it was ridiculous. And so Will Fuller left this game with a hamstring pull. So he's probably going to miss a few weeks. And this has been his MO through his career in the NFL, is a lot of leg injuries. So more targets for Hopkins, and Kenny Stills probably worth a look now. Also, maybe a deeper sleeper is Kiki Coutier. Chad, I think might want to take a look at him on the waivers. The other game, Chad, that I was really looking forward to is this Cardinals-Giants game. However, the weather kind of impacted this game. As a matter of fact, the next two games, the weather really impacted. I'll cover them both really quick, actually, since they're both on the same subject. Cardinals-Giants, a lot of rain in this game, turned it into more of a running attack. And, typically you don't get, like, rain doesn't really affect passing games very much, but when you add in wind, that's where rain and wind, heavy winds, really start affecting the passing game. There weren't heavy winds in this game, but there was a lot of rain, especially in this next game. But it was still a big offensive game. Chase Edmonds looked like, wow. I gotta be honest. I think he looks better in this scheme than David Johnson does. And so I think this type of team, this type of offensive scheme they run, I think it caters to his style, his quickness. He's quicker than David Johnson is, and I think he looked really well. So it was pretty interesting. David Johnson came in one play out, so the team is going to work out Jay Ajayi this week, and they're also going to work out Spencer Ware tomorrow. So there could be more to the David Johnson injury than what we really know about, and this could be a lot worse than what the team is leading on to be. It's not a good sign when they're working out not just one but two running backs.
Actually, make it three. They're going to be bringing in Benny Cunningham as well for some tryouts as well.
So there you have it. So I mean, it's and my initial thought was either the injury is really more than we thought, or they've seen enough of Chase Edmonds at this point, and they're going to move on from David Johnson. Maybe they're gearing up for a trade. So I think it's more likely the first of those two. But I would say nonetheless, if you're a David Johnson owner, and you should have, number one, you should already have Edmonds on your team. You should have picked him up weeks ago. But if you don't, you might want to try to go grab him right now before it's too late. If you can get him for a cheap trade, go try to grab him because he's going to be a valuable cuff. Barkley on the other side of the ball, Chad, picked up right where he left off. Had a pretty decent game, but he did get hurt in the game and was a little noticeably frustrated. Golden Tate also has a very prominent role on this team right now, especially with Sterling Shepard out with injury right now. So Golden Tate, probably a viable player, plug-in type of guy. You got a player on bye, or maybe you're starting him every week. Chad, what do you think?
I like him as a wide receiver too, in all actuality. I mean, he's getting enough targets to keep you in games. So, I mean, I like him.
Yeah, and then the other game, Chad, that was really affected by the weather was this 49ers-Redskins game. So this game, probably more so than the Giants game. Not probably, definitely. So weather dominated this game big time. There was zero offense, basically, a lot of defense. Niners won this game 6-0. No offensive scores. However, I did say to you, Chad, offline that, and also in my picks, I thought Adrian Peterson was going to be a pretty good play this week. Had over 20 carries, I believe. Had a decent game. Just didn't get in the paint. I see Adrian Peterson being used a ton in this offense moving forward.
Yeah, it's definitely looking like it. Bill Callahan loves to run the ball, so Adrian Peterson, run them while you can, right? So, all right, let's get into this next game here, Brian. We got Chargers-Titans. The Chargers could just continue to struggle to find any rhythm on offense. As a matter of fact, Melvin Gordon, though he got the most touches on the ground, or rushes, I should say, Austin Eckler and him pretty much split the workload in this one. It was 31 to 39 carries, snaps between the two of them, not carries. And Austin Eckler actually looked more effective when they used him in the last two drives of the game. He actually had some of the bigger plays of the game that kept the team kind of rolling there, whereas Melvin Gordon had back-to-back fumbles. One of them wasn't called a fumble, but the second one was, and that's what actually sealed their fate, and they lost the game. So it's clear that Melvin Gordon just is not in sync right now. Missing a quarter of the season will do that to you. So it's hurting the team. And you could see a more of a split towards Austin Eckler going forward. If that's the case, if the team looks better with Eckler, why not keep him in there? On top of that, Hunter Henry, big game. He just didn't get the touchdown in this one, but 90 yards receiving, 6 catches, big game for him. The Titans, on the other hand, man, they grinded out a hard-fought win against this team. And Ryan Tannehill, this is his first start, got a win. Passed for over 300 yards in this game, getting the receivers used regularly. So Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, even Tajay Sharp, a lot of these receivers getting used a lot in this game. Brian, I'll be honest, I think the whole offense benefits from having Tannehill in here. It sounds weird, but he might not be a great quarterback, but he definitely brings more consistency to the position, whereas Mariota was so up and down, you didn't know what to expect. At least now you can kind of forecast it, right? You can project what's going on.
Yeah, I think I said it last week. I think Tannehill's better over Mariota, so good for them.
Oh my God. Sorry. Sony Michelle.
Sony Michelle just drilling you right now? What's going on?
No, I got him.
The face you made might have been the most epic, along with the sound. I don't know if the sound got picked up or not.
I think it might have.
But it was epic. Yeah, good. I hope it did.
Of course it did. All right, let's keep moving around. We got a lot of show here. We got the Saints-Bears game. The Bears, BroMob ran the ball 7 times in this game. And I'm here to ask Matt Nagy, why? What are you doing with Mitch Trubisky throwing the ball more than 50 times in a game? Mitch Trubisky isn't that quarterback. I'm sorry. He is a 25 to 30 throw guy, if that. And you need to be running the ball to take care of the clock. Look, this Bears defense, despite being great, right? They really are a great defense. They cannot be out on the field for the entire game. They're going to get tired. They're going to get outmatched. We saw it with Latavius Murray, just one of those backs. He's kind of like a pound it back. He over 20 carries in this game, just started to wear him out because the fact that the Bears couldn't control the clock at all. They weren't running the ball. They were terrible passing the ball. Actually, Mitch Trubisky, he put together a good fantasy performance, but that's only because of garbage time points. He came in and started doing some things towards the end there. And Brian, here's the thing. I mentioned it before the season. Mitch Trubisky, I thought was a mediocre quarterback at best, and I thought that his fantasy stats last season were padded by his rushing attack. And what are we seeing this year? Less rushes, and what's happening? Bad fantasy performances. Bad all-around performance for the guy. It's just it's not looking good for the Bears here on offense.
No, not at all. And I got to be honest, 2 things on this really quick is, well, actually maybe 3. Trubisky, I was wrong. He bad. This is a bad quarterback.
Not good.
You guys need to get the other guy in there quickly because pick a guy out of the stands. He's better. So it's not looking good. Number 2 is I do believe that I called Bears defense last week being a bad play. I just smelled it, and so if you smell it, you typically dealt it. So I done smelt it, and I definitely done dealt it. So, and then also one last little piece is I'm gonna smell one more thing ahead of time here. Next week, the Bears play the Chargers. David Montgomery, 20 carries, and has a big game. Derrick Henry just had 22 carries for 90 yards and a touchdown against them. They're 26th against the run in the direction you don't want to be. So I wouldn't be surprised if Matt Nagy goes, yeah, all right, maybe we don't throw the ball 54 times, and yep, we're going to let that defense punish Phillip Rivers, and we're going to pound the rock and get out of there. So I wouldn't be shocked if this is the week that you might want to get David Montgomery in your lineup. Just maybe a little forecast on tomorrow's show.
Or, Matt Nagy might just throw the ball 60 times this next week. we never know, actually.
Matt Nagy goes in, plays quarterback himself. Bears win.
He does. He was a backup quarterback, right? Back in his day. So right. Matt Nagy comes out, throws a couple.
Matt Nagy grabs Trubisky by his ear, drags him off the field, and then puts him on and goes in and plays without pads.
No pads, only the helmet, no cleats. Yep. He just runs around.
No cleats.
Clipboard barefoot. In one hand.
Barefoot. No shoes. Throws his shoes off. Runs barefoot.
All right, Brian, we got the last two games here. What do we got?
Yeah, so the last two games were Ravens, Seahawks. This was Lamar Jackson is ridiculous. I'm just gonna put out there right now. This is ridiculous. He's an alien. Okay. Mm-hmm. I heard this first time I've ever heard this phrase for NFL. He is the first quarterback to have a double triple. Doesn't sound like the NBA's triple double, but it's called the double
NBA stats
double
now.
Triple.
Okay.
It's a double triple. Well, you know what a double triple is when you have two triple digit yards
you don't even know.
in two categories. So he had over 100 yards in both passing and rushing. That is ridiculous. So Lamar Jackson is going to be his floor is so high. He's on pace for 1,300 yards this season.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I've never seen a running back. Running back. Yeah, he's what he is. He's a running back quarterback hybrid. Yeah, I've never seen anybody like it. He can throw the ball. He can pass. Everybody on earth was wrong about this dude. I think he's a stud. And so anyway, that's my thing about him. Russell Wilson on the other side of the ball, also a stud. This guy is also one of the best in the business. Has a unbelievable connection with Tyler Lockett and landed the touchdown this week with him. But look, without Disley, it looked like he was searching. So they need to find that next guy. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't make a trade.
I mean, you could see he tried to get Metcalf more involved in the Disley role. And Metcalf had a couple drops and actually a fumble. I mean, he fumbled it on himself. He was trying to switch hands to run a play and just dropped the ball. Nobody touched him. So visibly frustrated on both Metcalf's behalf and Russell Wilson's. Just couldn't find anybody. I do want to mention one more thing about Lamar Jackson and him being a stud, Brian. He is the number 5 rusher. I'm not even talking like QB rusher or anything. I'm talking NFL rusher in the season right now. So there's only 4 running backs with more rushing yards than Lamar Jackson right now. It's unheard of.
Yeah, if you're a defensive coordinator, when you see Lamar Jackson on the schedule, he's a nightmare. I don't even know how you begin to game plan for the guy. He's a freak of nature. So, last game here, Chad, Eagles, Cowboys, and let me just be the first to say, how about them Cowboys?
How about them boys?
Getting that dub. I like it. This was a straight up ass beating. So Cowboys,
it wasn't even a game, really. Hey, they looked good.
I'm gonna be honest, man. You Eagle fans, I mean, look, we love you. We're probably losing some subscribers this week, but hey, it is what it is, man. Cowboys looking good. Dominated on both sides of the ball. Offense, defense, special teams, crowd, air temperature, just any piece of the game you possibly could imagine.
Grass height.
Grass quality. You name it, done. Color scheme, done.
Concessions, got it.
Concession sales, whole NFL just got smoked. So just crushing it. No, but in all seriousness, this was a great game for Fantasy 2. Dak Prescott had a great game. Amari Cooper had a great game. Zeke, 100 yards rushing against a really tough defense. I got to be honest with you, I was really close to putting Zeke as a sit in my picks last week. And then as I started to type his name, I said, nope. And I backed it out because I said, Zeke's one of those guys. You just don't do that.
Yeah,
and
you don't
so
Zeke
I had to,
can't do it.
I'm so glad I did. A great game by Zeke. He looked pissed. Like he was running with fear. He was running with a fierceness out there. So Carson Wentz, I gotta be honest with you guys. That offensive line's in trouble. There's so, I mean,
yeah. That rookie
Wentz
Andre Dillard in the left tackle is not good.
Yeah, it's not at all. They can't run the ball. They can't protect Carson Wentz. That affects the passing game. They need Djax. But I will be honest with you, more than they need these skilled players, I really feel like they need a whole offensive line reboot.
I don't know how they're not already talking to the Redskins to try and get Trent Williams from them. Like how that hasn't already happened. I understand they have Jason Peters and everything there, but hell, when Jason Peters comes back, you got Peters and Trent Williams, right? It can't hurt you to go get him. Get this guy. I mean, Carson Wentz is calling hike, and it's like he's instantly getting sacked. And even if he does get the ball off, here's what's worse. They do need the skill position guys because when he gets the ball off, his receivers can't catch the ball. it bounces off their hands. Alshon Jeffrey, multiple catches that he could have had dropped off his hands. I watched Nelson Aguilar stop running on a deep ball that he could have caught actually and probably went for a touchdown against the Cowboys. It's almost every single week that you watch Carson Wentz throw these deep balls to wide receivers and they're not catching them, A, or B, they're stopping the routes or they're just not getting there in time. It's kind of painful to watch the Eagles because they can be a good team, but it's like they're hurting themselves.
Yeah, it's so anyway, the Eagles not looking good. And if you're a Carson Wentz owner, it's gonna be tough to stomach, Chad Davidson.
Me particularly.
Yeah, because I can play you next week. You're gonna get smoked.
Dude, it's just not gonna happen. I hope you're ready to get back-to-back losses because
I'm gonna absolutely drill the beard off your face.
Yeah, I don't even want to look at you right now. All right, I'm getting upset. Let's get into our genius picks.
Genius!
All right, BroMob, I actually had a bad week, so let me go through my very limited genius picks that I had here. Starting off with Dak Prescott. We talked about him. He was 21 for 27, 239 yards, a touchdown, and he did what he does best, 5 carries for 30 yards and a rushing touchdown as well. So he put up 20 points for you in fantasy, or actually 20.6 to be precise, and had a good week. That was followed up by me saying to sit David Montgomery, and BroMob, I desperately hope you listened. 2 carries, 6 yards, 2 catches for 13 yards. He only had 0.9 fantasy points in this game. Not even worth a flex in this game, really. It was just terrible. And then for my last 2 picks here, I said to start Bills defense. They put up 10 points for you in fantasy. It was against Miami. I was expecting a little bit bigger of a game from them, but 10 points still respectable at the defensive position. And then finally, I said to sit Seahawks defense. It was a week where you might be wanting to stream the position. The Seahawks were readily available on the wire for you out there, but they only put up 1 fantasy point. Huge dud for you. Lamar Jackson, as we said, he's kind of a big deal. So stay away from anybody that plays the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, good point, Chad. I had a couple decent picks this week as well. So I'm going to start it off with T.Y. Hilton, 6 catches, 74 yards, a tutty, 16.4 points. Coming off that bye week, I kind of had foreshadowed that I thought this is a great way for him to get healthy, and he probably comes out in a game that could be a shootout and have a pretty good game, and that he did. Also said start Hunter Henry at tight end, 6 catches for 97 yards. This guy is a beast, just an absolute beast. 12.7 points on the day. Great game for him. We talked about this earlier, Chad. Said sit the Bears defense. I went bold. Boldly went where no man has boldly gone before boldly, and they get 3 points. So I win. Stream Jimmy Graham, tight end. This was my rock solid, gold-plated, diamond-crested stream of the week at tight end. Chad, you gave me like an ill sound, I do believe, if I remember correctly. I think it went a little like this. And so that's what your sound like to me. 4 catches, 65 yards, a touchdown, 14.5 points in fantasy. You're welcome. Stream Jaguars defense, 19 points. Boom.
You blew it!
Oh, Philip Rivers. So I was almost right about him until the end of the game there where he was connecting with Austin Eckler and Hunter Henry like crazy. Ended up scoring 21.2 fantasy points, was actually the number 8 quarterback in fantasy football. I'm watching the New England Patriots, another pickoff. Jesus Christ, this defense is just ridiculous. And he had a good week. So sorry, BroMob, if you sat him. He had a good week for you on your bench. Next, I said to start Phillip Lindsay. Like I said, this Kansas City Chiefs made this team look bad, and this was a bad defense. So Lindsay, not a good output for him. Really, actually not good output at all. It was even for a flex play. He ended up with 3.7 points on the day. Ouch. Sorry about that one, BroMob. And then the biggest one that I'm sorry about, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm never sitting this guy ever again. He's a constant start, no matter who he plays. Darren Waller put up 128 yards on 7 catches, 2 touchdowns against. And I'm not even kidding. This is a really good Packers safety tandem here that stops a lot of tight ends. He had himself a great game. And I'm sorry, BroMob, he put up 28.1 fantasy points on your bench if you didn't play him, or if you listened to me. I'm never sitting him again, ever again.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I had some bonehead picks this week too, and some of these, I'm going to be honest, were more weather impacted than they were bad picks, I think. So I'm gonna throw some asterisks in there. Daniel Jones, that was a rainy game. It was a heavy running game. There were 3 turnovers on his behalf, didn't help his day either, but not a great pick to stream Daniel Jones this week. Also said start Kyler Murray on the other end. Again, I was expecting maybe the opposite of this game, which was a passing onslaught due to the poor secondaries, but the rain was just too much of an impact. It was a heavy running game on the Arizona Cardinals side of the ball. 2 picks there that ended up being bad days in fantasy, but I think I'm not overreacting these 2. I think there are better days ahead. I also Matt Stafford against one of the toughest defenses in the league. Yeah, he proved me wrong. So Matt Stafford had a 4-touchdown game. Thank you. So that was a bad recommendation. My bad. Start Devin. Start Devin. You know that guy. Start Tevin Coleman. And again, this was a weather impacted game. It was a heavy, rainy game. He didn't have a bad output. 20 carries on the day, but he could only pump out 62 yards on those 20 carries. I mean, I don't know if you saw the field, man. It was like it looked like slip and slide.
Yeah, they were running through a swamp on the field. It looked like a legitimate swamp.
There was literally a half a foot of water on the field. It was ridiculous. I've never seen anything like it. I think Adrian Pearson was caught on the sideline just rowing a boat, like literally just rowing around. So also said sit Tyreek Hill. And you know what? I'm gonna stick by this pick. I'm not upset about it. I'm not ashamed of it. I said last week on the episode that the only way he has a really good game is if he takes one to the house, a deep one. And this is exactly what he did. 57-yard touchdown. Thank you, Tyreek Hill. You made me look like an idiot. And then the last one was start Chargers defense. Look, this was one I did not see. I just didn't see it. I didn't see the Titans scoring 23 on them. I saw Ryan Tannehill and coming into the game, the Titans were like one of the worst in the league at allowing sacks. The Chargers only have 2 sacks in this game and a pick, and it was just I didn't see 23 points coming. So that was not the greatest pick either. So
sorry about those, BroMob. Promise to do better this coming week. I'm just gonna say anytime we've done poorly with our picks, we come back stronger the next week, BroMob. So Brian and I are coming back stronger for you. We're gonna come back looking better. I'm gonna shave a little bit of my beard off because I'm looking pretty bad right now. Brian, I don't know about you. It's gonna be tough for you to look any better than how bad you're looking right now. But
I'm gonna take a little off the eyebrows.
All right, BroMob. So David Johnson, we already talked about it. This could become something bigger, his injury. And if you haven't already, you need to go out and get Chase Edmonds now. He's only owned in 31.5% of ESPN leagues, and he could become a bell cow type of back if DJ either A, is out due to injury, or B, if, like we said, it probably won't happen, but if DJ were to get traded for whatever reason, Edmonds becomes a bell cow. So go out there and get him right now while you can. The next big pickup here, Latavius Murray, who's only owned in 67.1% of ESPN leagues, which is crazy to me. We all knew that Alvin Kamara wasn't playing this coming week, so I don't know how he wasn't picked up and owned in more leagues, but he's available. If Alvin Kamara were to miss any more games, Latavius Murray, really good flex play for you, or even a good running back 2 going forward. Here's what I would do with Latavius Murray. If he's on the waiver wire, go pick him up and try to trade him immediately to the guy who has Alvin Kamara for that cuff. You could probably get something pretty valuable for just a handcuff in all actuality.
Yeah, absolutely, Chad. Another guy you might want to get on your squad if you don't have him is Jamal Williams. We just talked about him earlier. Only owned about 55% of ESPN leagues. Getting plenty of looks, plenty of touches. It looks like you can have a double-headed monster in this Green Bay attack and still have good fantasy production. So Jamal Williams is not only rosterable, but I'd say in some situations he's probably startable. So I would say get him on your team. Another guy is Ty Johnson, only owned in 1.2% of leagues. Look, Kerryon Johnson got hurt this week, and looks like he might miss a couple weeks here, or more than a couple. And so he's gonna get. I hate to be a pun here, but he's gonna get a lion's share of the touches.
Oh my God!
Oh,
Don't.
Yeah,
Could have said monster share. Leave it at that. All right, we'll go to
Yes.
the next pick here, BroMob. Corey Davis with the Tennessee Titans, only owned in 43.9% of ESPN leagues. Listen, Tannehill is throwing it to the receivers more, whereas Mariota liked to throw it in the middle of the field, hit Delaney Walker a lot. It looks like Tannehill's going to try and hit those outside receivers quite a bit. Corey Davis benefited greatly from this. And we could see a lot more of that going forward. It could be spread out between him, AJ Brown, and Tajay Sharp, but I expect Corey Davis to be the benefactor of most of the targets and most of the big plays. So go out there and get him if you can. The next one, we talked about him already, deeper pickup, Kiki Coutier, 22.2% of ESPN leagues with no Fuller in the outlook here. He could be seeing a lot more looks. I mean, we saw it this past week, and Deshaun Watson showed good repertoire with him in the past. So this could be something that becomes really good for Kiki this coming weeks.
Did you say a repertoire or a rapport?
Repertoire.
That's what I thought you said. All right.
I think it still
English.
applies to the situation, Brian.
I think English is your second language. So, first language, dum-dum.
I think that word is a little French. So
Yeah.
oops.
I'll give you something French. So Devontae Parker, I don't know what that meant. Another great waiver ad, wide receiver Devontae Parker of the Miami Dolphins, only 8.6% of leagues.
All right, then BroMob, the last ad here, and this is deeper. We mentioned him last week, but I'm bringing him back up again because he's barely owned. Benny Snell Jr. of the Pittsburgh Steelers, only rostered in 5.5% of ESPN leagues right now. Listen, 17 carries, 75 yards, one catch, 14 yards. In the previous week, they had their bye week this week, but the week before had himself a good game. Connor is coming into the game still a little banged up. The quadriceps still kind of hurt there. And of course, Jalen Samuel is not healthy. So Benny Snell could be actually pretty good option this coming week playing against Miami. 5.5% of leagues. I mean, he's worth flex consideration, Brian.
So the Patriots just got a safety, I do believe. So I was really hoping it was going to be a touchdown, but Darnold kicked it out of the back of the end zone.
Not pay attention, and I'm gonna watch the Patriots real quick. Right.
Sorry, I was excited.
So BroMob, just go out there and check out these waiver ads whenever you can. Let's get into our hold'em picks here. Brian, I'm going to start it off with a guy, big name, was going in the first and second round, kind of the turn there during drafts. Juju Smith-Schuster, are you holding or are you trading right now? I mean, I'm never cutting the guy. He's too talented, getting a pretty good target share of that offense. But what's the outlook here for Juju?
Yeah, the problem is so for redraft purposes, I don't know that you can trade him anymore. You know, I mean, you're not gonna get anywhere near the value that you want for him, and so you're better almost just holding him for the hope of better days. And I think you might get a couple better days, but I just think you might have to stomach the fact that he's just not going to be what you drafted.
Yeah, very possible. I'm with you. I think it's a little hard to trade him, especially with there's just going to be no return value with it. So hold on to it and keep them fingers crossed on hopefully him busting out, but it does not look. In all actuality, they are playing Miami this coming week. He could have a good game, and if that's the case, it might be worth trying to dump him right there and then if he has a big game. So worth consideration there. The next one, Brian, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Now I bring this one up because he's owned in 55.2% of leagues right now. So that means half of the league out there is on the fence with him. They're either holding him or they've dropped him already, right? Are we holding or are we dropping MVS right now? He had a big game this past week, but if you look at it, he had 2 big catches in this game. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, he's a guy that you probably drafted late in the draft. So his output so far has probably been right in line of where it should be, maybe a little less. And so I think I'm going to hold on to him. Same situation. Maybe if I can package him with somebody else to try to move him this week after that big game, if you can get somebody to bite on that, sure. But it might be unlikely.
Yeah, very true. And then the theme this week, Brian, I'm just going to say right now is wide receivers, right? This is just a big wide receiver week. The next one here, Sammy Watkins, the Lizard King himself. Listen, with Pat Mahomes out, and also with the major injury concerns, Sammy Watkins has missed 2 weeks, basically 3. He missed most of the game that he played against Indianapolis as well. But with those injury concerns, with Pat Mahomes out of this game, or out for multiple games going forward, is this somebody that you want to keep on your roster and just kind of just taking up a roster spot and not doing much for you? I mean, the talent's there for sure, but he's just not capitalizing at all. I don't think he's even tradable at this point. So he's just kind of sitting on your roster, kind of rotting your team away.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm going to drop him just for name value. Just for the name value, really. I think you could probably package him in a trade. That's probably the only way you're going to move him is if you do a package deal. I don't think you're going to be able to move him solo. You know what I mean?
I see no possibility of moving him. Tom Brady just threw an interception. No possibility of really moving him either. So I don't know, man. I'm on the fence as well. I'm kind of almost at the point. I don't know.
No,
I would probably hold him, but I can't stand it. So let's get into the last one. Here's another one that's tough. Will Fuller goes down with the hamstring injury. He's too talented to kind of let go of, it seems. He should be back for the fantasy playoffs, but you're going to be holding him for a while at that point, right? I mean, so are you willing to let him go and take the possibility of someone else taking him for the playoffs and him possibly going off, or are you just going to hold him on your roster for the next 5 weeks and see what happens?
Yeah, I think it depends on where you're at. If you're 5-1 right now, you might be able to hold on to him. If you're 3-4 or 3-3 or whatever record you might be, or 6-1 rather, not 5-1. I think you just got to make a decision. What does your team's need? Personally, I think I would drop him. I think he's droppable. I'm not gonna hold up a roster spot for 5 weeks. If I've got a very heavy winning record, which in this case I do. If I had him, I wouldn't. Nah.
Yeah.
Next.
I hear you. Yeah, I think I would drop him too. And here's the player I'd drop him for, to be honest. Deshaun Jackson. This is a player that's same type of player. He's the deep threat guy. He should be coming back within the next week, maybe 2. And like I said before, Carson Wentz in desperate need of a deep threat. This guy is worth it. He's owned in a little bit over 60% of ESPN leagues, so he's available out there. But it's definitely worth the flyer. Will Fuller and him, same type of player. So let's get into our trades here, Brian, because we got to keep the show rolling here. Look, if you didn't trade for Hopkins yet, or get him in a trade, then you've missed out. He got himself that big week. This is the week that you missed out on it. So he's once again untouchable. However, Devontae Adams, that's a different story. This guy's still very available in trades. I'd still try out and go get him. If you can swap a player like Cooper Kupp for him, that'd be pretty. I think that'd be a pretty 1-to-1 type of trade that could benefit your team quite well actually going forward. So, Brian, who else we got for trades?
Chad, I would try to trade for Josh Jacobs. I mean, I think he's got a really cake schedule coming up here in the near future. He's got Houston, Detroit, the Chargers, the Bengals, the Jets, Kansas City, who can't stop anybody, Tennessee, Jacksonville, and then the Chargers again. So what a great finish to the season, and a team that seems to commit heavily to him. They drafted him for a reason. They want to run him. And so I think Josh Jacobs is a guy you want to definitely be targeting and try to get him in a trade this upcoming week. I would target him right now.
Yeah, I mean, is this the type of guy that you would trade? Let's say you have Le'Veon Bell, right? And you could package Le'Veon Bell with a wide receiver of some type. Would you try to go Josh Jacobs and then upgrade massively at the wide receiver position as well?
No, I wouldn't trade Lev Bell. I think I like Lev Bell's schedule coming up as well. So I'll tell you who I would trade for, Chad, or try to trade to go get Josh Jacobs. If you could turn Melvin Gordon into Josh Jacobs somehow. I mean, look, Gordon just had a good game. He's kind of, but we just said it earlier. Like Eckler looks like the better back on that team. So anybody that's not really paying attention and they Gordon's got a name, don't you think? I mean, I like Josh Gordon. Geez, I like Melvin Gordon. And maybe you package him. I mean, if you can go, put a wide receiver and Melvin Gordon, make it like visually look like an overtrade just for Josh Jacobs, you might get him somebody to bite. Another guy you might want to go trade for or trade away is if you could package him with somebody else, is David Johnson. Maybe somebody wants to try to to go grab David Johnson, cheap, and they think, oh, I'm getting David Johnson and another guy, and all I have to give up is Josh Jacobs. Like that would be another guy. Maybe you want to try to unload. One more guy other than that you might want to consider. If you look at the schedule, has I would say, I think it's a pretty pretty hard schedule. Is you look at LaShawn McCoy. LaShawn McCoy has been halfway decent, but I mean, if you could try to package McCoy and maybe a better receiver, and you could go upgrade LaShawn McCoy, he finishes the season, Chad, at New England, Denver, at Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
It's a tough schedule to finish the season.
Let's say you could do OBJ, LaShawn McCoy. Would you trade those two for Josh Jacobs right now?
I think, man, if you're somebody that wants to try to buy low, I mean, if you've got depth and Josh Jacobs is maybe your third running back or whatever, then yeah, I mean, I don't know. No, I don't think I would.
Okay, I really like Josh Jacobs. That's why I'm asking. I think.
Well, I do. Well, I do too. But
this schedule is it looks like, and I'm not gonna say it is one, but it looks like a league winner type of schedule, right? It's really easy going forward for him, and he can win you games to get you into the playoffs, and he's got the schedule to win you games in the playoffs as well. So I really like him. So something to consider there, BroMob. All right, let's go ahead and end the show right there. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Wednesday to stay up to date on your fantasy football world and to gather any insights on how to dominate your fantasy football league.
Absolutely, and we get a lot of questions online every week, and unfortunately, we can't get to you all. A really good resource for you is jointhebromob.com. It is our official Patreon website. And if you join that website, we guarantee a 24-hour response to your questions. So we'll help you answer those questions or trade questions you might have. You get a guaranteed response within 24 hours from either Chad or I, or both of us in some cases. And so definitely get over to jointhebromob.com. We're trying to add as much value to your fantasy league or your fantasy run as possible, and become an official BroMobster today.
If you're not on Apple Podcasts, maybe you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, pretty much everywhere out there. We are out there. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at FF Bros Podcast, and be sure to check out our website, thefantasyfootballbros.com, for all kinds of articles, rankings, and so much more, BroMob. See you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody.